Good morning, everyone. My voice doesn't carry very much, so if you want, you can come closer or wear your headphones for better sound. Bonjour tout le monde, c'est un plaisir de vous voir tous ici réunis. Je sais qu'il y a plusieurs francophones qui sont parmi nous. So, on behalf of Telefilm Canada, I wish to extend our heartfelt thank you to Fame Week 2023 for having invited Canada as a special guest country. It makes a world of difference for us. Thank you so, so much. Thank you also for providing such a friendly and welcoming environment for our industry professionals and your industry professionals to meet in person and engage in conversations. Special thanks to the Canadian High Commission team, whose presence and genuine commitment to our field makes and will make a difference. So after we are gone, when you have questions, by all means, reach out to the High Commission of Canada in South Africa. So it is the opportunity sparked and developed by our conversation this week that will lead to the co-production of very unique stories. Unique stories that will stand out on a multitude of platforms. Just imagine the possibilities to reach and touch audiences at home, but also internationally through these co-productions. As most of us are gathering from different places, near and far, let's acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. I also want to highlight the presence of truly talented Canadian producers and creatives at Fame Week this year. It is through your relationship with them that Telefilm Canada can become a partner of choice for you and with you. A partner in your work, but also in your success. So we can move to the next slide. So let me tell you a little bit about Telefilm Canada, and I will signal for changing slides. You will have visuals, you don't have to look at me. So about Telefilm Canada. Telefilm Canada is Canada's national funding agency for feature films. Oh, perfect. I can do it all. Wonderful. So Telefilm Canada is the national funding agency. It administering three main components: the Canada Feature Film Fund. Here we go. The Canada Feature Film Fund. We also have a smaller fund called the Talent Fund for emerging and first-time filmmakers. International co-productions, and Telefilm also administers programs for the Canada Media Fund. The Canada Media Fund is for television and new media or digital media productions. So Telefilm's funding is granted to Canadian companies, to Canadian productions or international co-productions, majority or minority Canadian. So there's a wide range of projects that are eligible for our funding. Our programs usually have deadlines, so it's something to keep in mind. Opening and closing deadlines a couple of times a year. Our co-production office certifies project year-round, so no deadline for co-productions. You come when you're ready. Most of our programs are selective and highly competitive, so that's something to keep in mind. Not all projects are selected. Not all internationally recognized co-production will receive funding. It is, after all, selective. And our funding comes in various forms: non-recoupable contributions, equity financing, advances, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. So let me tell you about our environment, and I think South Africans will feel right at home. These are key, key ideas, concepts, actions that are central to all of our programs. Gender parity. Several years ago, we engaged into a promise to finance and support projects that were not only produced but also directed by women. This summer, I'm so happy to report that our top grossing Canadian film, this summer in Quebec, earning $2 million at the box office in only 1 month, was directed by a woman, Louise Archambault. So if you get a chance to look at her films, she's phenomenal, and we're so proud of her. Diversity and inclusion is at the core of all of our program designs and discussions for improving programs. These discussions are truly enriched by the conversations and the groups that have been created in the past few years. And I would like to highlight the Black Screen Office, the Indigenous Screen Office, and a new group that is taking form this year, the Disability Screen Office. So it is through discussions and listening that every year we try to improve and make it better and more accessible and support more projects. Indigenous production is one of our streams in all of our programs. We are also concerned about linguistic and regional support. Authentic storytelling is also at the core of discussions, creative discussions around projects. And authentic storytelling is a topic that is of relevance to all of our production. Eco-responsibility, just like your producers here in South Africa, is a movement that we engage in and we want to support and encourage. Oops. Okay. So let me go back to the programs that Telefilm Canada will administer for feature film. Now we're just talking about feature film. The Feature Film Fund will support projects from development to production, post-production, marketing, so funding for campaigns for a theatrical release in Canada, supporting the participation of filmmakers and producers at international film events or co-production forums internationally. And also we have, for if there are any distributors here today, we also have a program to help support international distributors, so distributors in their local markets, for campaigns towards the release of theatrical release of Canadian films. So the Telefilm's budget is approximately 120 million a year. If I say approximately, it is that there is a government allocation, but also a revenue stream from previous investments, and that depends on how successful our films have been. So it's usually at the end of the year that we tally and know how much, what was the exact budget. So now for television, let me move on to. Before I do, I just want to say that Telefilm is also a partner in two really terrific funds, Eurimage. So Canada is the non-European country member of Eurimage, which is wonderful. And also a partner of New Dawn. And if you don't know the fund, it's really worth taking note and having a look at it. There's a focus on diversity and inclusion in this fund. So have a look at it. Now on to television. Our television industry is supported by most broadcasters in Canada, as well as the Canada Media Fund. The Canada Media Fund has a much larger budget than we do at Telefilm, over $300 million annually, and supports both television productions in all genres, and as well as I explained earlier, digital works. So typically, to trigger funding at the Canada Media Fund, a Canadian producer must first have a license agreement with a Canadian broadcaster. Now, to bring the conversation more local and look at what is available to South African producers and Canadian producers, please take note, on September 18th, a program for co-development of television programs, co-development with a Canadian partner, is opening on September 18th, and that is your contact here in South Africa will be Terence Kumalo from NFVF. So this is a joint initiative created out of a lot of discussions and excellent relationships, wanting to see more projects emerge and co-developed by Canadians and South Africans. So have a look. The guidelines should be published very soon on both platforms. So now, when Telefilm claims to be a partner of choice, it's a statement also to highlight the fact that Telefilm is not a studio, but a partner of a number of really established and emerging Canadian producers. So as a partner, we also have other financing partners, and that will give you an idea of the landscape, and it will bring, then I will conclude on the importance of having a plan or a financing calendar. So in Canada, Telefilm is the national funder. There are also, every province in Canada, and there are 10 provinces, has, most of them have a provincial agency also providing funding for production, either funding or tax incentive. There are international funds, as I mentioned earlier, Gueymard and New Dawn. Tax credits both at the federal level and the provincial level, and generally the tax credit calculation is based on salaries or salaries of Canadians working on the projects. There are private funds, private investors, broadcasters providing increasingly both an equity and a license fee, or at least in feature films. Distributors, foreign sales agents, Canadian or international, gap financiers, sometimes a combination of a gap financier and an international sale agent will take risk, high risk, but calculated in providing advancing money for the production of a film. We rely also on financial institutions to provide interim financing to help cash flow during production. We have agreements with a certain number of them. These agreements are for assignment and direction of our payments directly to the institutions when that is required. So we also have relationships with banks and financial institutions. Smaller projects will usually rely on a combination of producer investments, deferrals, service house rebates. Lower budget productions may also have a number of grants, or sometimes even rely on crowdfunding, although it's less popular these days in Canada. So, just as your production and development calendar is essential, it's your roadmap, there's a second roadmap that is also important. They have to superimpose on it, and it's the production financing calendar. As you can see, every agency will have its own opening and closing dates for programs, and it is quite an exercise to match that calendar with yours. So expectations should be modest in the sense that it would be difficult to move very quickly. So it takes time, but if time is on your side, great things can happen, and they have happened. So let's talk about great things. So Canada has treaties or agreements with 57 countries worldwide. Last year alone, we certified or recognized 60 co-productions, international co-productions. The overall value is tremendous, $371 million. Out of this, 46% was the Canadian share of financing. 36 feature films, 24 television productions. And I'd like to highlight that out of these projects, there is quite a large number that is financed privately without Telefilm funding and without the Canadian Media Fund funding. Perfect. South Africa. South Africa has been a partner, a solid partner for 25 years. 25 years! And overall, our business joint business has amounted to $291 million. 124 million spent in Canada, 133 million spent in South Africa. 35 projects have seen the day of light, reached screens and audiences. 17 feature films, 19 television productions. So there are possibilities. It has worked, and our dear hope is that it will continue and increase in numbers. Very quickly, how the Canada-South Africa Treaty works. There's a minimum requirement of 20%, and that based on the contribution of each co-producer. The creative, technical contributions, the share of revenue should be proportional to financing. So it's very, very simple equation, but it can become complex. Co-production application should be made 30 days at least before the beginning of principal photography. Why? Because we like to help producers have projects that really are sharp on and will respect all the requirements of the treaty. So it takes a little bit of time, and it's better to do all of this before principal photography starts. So in your dealings or discussions with Canadian producers, just factor in time required to put together financing, and also applying for co-production status both here at NFEF and at Telefilm Canada at least 30 days before principal photography starts. So now, quickly to wrap it up and to end, I would like to say that treaty co-productions are one means of co-producing, or of collaborating with Canada. If there is no co-production treaty with your country, think out of the box, and I will get to it. So Canada has a treaty with South Africa. The other African treaty, or treaty we have with another African country, is with Senegal. So that's two countries. The NFEF will soon have 2 additional treaties, one with Kenya and Nigeria. So those through South Africa, there will be possibilities of linking Canadians and South Africans and Kenyans, and as well as Nigerians. So let's keep that in mind. Just like to give you another example, Canada doesn't have a formal treaty with Taiwan. However, New Zealand does. So if we want to co-produce with Taiwan, we would involve a New Zealand partner and make it work. So those are possibilities, and I invite you to think of those possibilities wherever you are, and in whatever form that could help you get involved in an international project. So I think with the Kenyan and Nigerian treaties, South Africa will be playing an even more important role for Canadian producers, and I really look forward to it. There is great interest, motivation from the producer's side. As you noticed yesterday, the CMPA, the Canadian Producers Association, signed an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, for more collaboration with IPO, the South African Producers Association. Our treaty between Canada, or agreement between Canada and South Africa, will be modernized very soon, probably in the months to come. We will have a revised treaty. Et pour tous les producteurs des pays francophones, il y a plusieurs forums par année qui visent spécifiquement, particulièrement la coproduction de langue française. Je pense que le prochain rendez-vous est en Suisse, les rendez-vous de la coproduction francophone. So that's all I have to say today. Please go and meet Canadian producers. Try to develop ideas that will work in both markets. If you have any questions, I'm here all day at the Canadian stand. You can reach out to me or to any of our colleagues. Thank you so much for your time and warm welcome.